I'm Jamie Seeker, and this is What It Takes. Each episode, I sit down with real business owners to talk about their journey, the wins, the challenges, and everything in between. Let's dive in. Welcome back to What It Takes, the podcast where we dive into the journeys of business owners, the challenges, the wins, and the lessons learned along the way. Because building a business isn't easy, we're here to uncover what it truly makes or what it truly takes to make it happen. So today's guest I'm really excited for. It's Ive Haugeland, a licensed landscape architect and the principal at Shades of Green. And I love talking to architects because that was like in my early days as a consultant, I had like my first couple of clients were architects. So it's really cool to kind of talk back to other architect business owners, but this Shades of Green is a design firm known for its seamless integration of modern aesthetics and sustainable landscaping. But her journey to entrepreneurship didn't start in California, which is where they're based. It began in Norway, where she worked on designing environmentally sensitive landscapes in the country's stunning fjords and coastal regions. So after moving to California in 2000, Eva worked on a large scale hospitality and urban planning projects before taking the leap and founding Shades of Green in 2004. So since then, she's built a thriving business that blends sustainability, creativity, and Scandinavian inspired simplicity into high-end landscape designs. But what does it take to transition across continents, launch your own firm? Stay tuned to hear all of her journey as we kind of dive into all of that today. So, welcome to What It Takes.
Thank you so much for having me here.
Yeah, so I just want to start a little bit into your roots in landscape architecture. Let's start with your background. Growing up in Norway, working on environmentally sensitive projects, what drew you to landscape architecture?
So I have always loved nature, plants, design, animals, um, colors. Yeah, everything design and nature basically. So when I worked in a garden center in high school, and that's when I found out there's actually something called landscape architecture. So I was like, that's what I want to do. And so I studied landscape architecture at the University of Life Sciences in Norway. So I took a master's degree there. And then I worked, 5 years in Norway before I moved here.
Yeah, so what brought you to California? That's a pretty big leap.
Yeah, well, some adventurousness and a man. So,
Hey, that'll do it. That'll
yeah.
do it.
So,
So, what were some of the biggest challenges then that you faced in transitioning into the US market?
yeah, so I got a job. I got an HB1 visa, which means you are kind of stuck there. Um, but I would say one of the biggest challenge was learning about inches and feet, and especially how you do grading versus how you do it in meters and centimeters. Uh, Learning plants, just things were done a little differently here, a little bit different culture and stuff. But yeah, so it took a little time to get into to kind of figure it out. But
Yeah, mostly people talk about the culture and learning the markets, and but didn't. I mean, obviously with architecture, I should have thought about, yeah, you have to convert everything that you've ever known into this new way of having to do things. Yeah, that I can imagine. So,
yeah.
what were some of the early career lessons that you had before launching your firm? You worked on large scale projects and hospitality and urban planning. What were some of those key lessons from those experiences that helped you start your own business?
Yeah, it kind of learned it kind of taught me how, the processes are here. Um, there's much more permit driven things. At least, I mean, the permits has gotten way more and more kind of stricter and stuff. So, but from what we did in Norway too, it was more permit uh, things you have to go through. So more documentation of construction drawings and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, so that was kind of one of the big lessons, I think.
And I think it's really cool too and this is something that like I kind of share with you in my journey is that I started off in a really big organization and I felt
Mhm.
like learning and like growing in that environment for the first kind of decade of my career, I think really helped to give me the knowledge to like move forward. So I think there's
Yeah,
something to that, spending time in the beginning, getting experience, learning from others who are doing it well to kind of
absolutely.
like take that along. Yeah, that's cool. So what about starting Shades of Green though? I mean, because that's a pretty big leap. So what inspired you to take the leap and start your own firm in 2004? Like, did you always envision you wanted to be an entrepreneur, or is this something that just kind of happened? I mean, you don't just fall into something like that, right?
Yeah, no, I when I was in Norway, I was like, I didn't even think about it. But then, I mean, California or America is a little more kind of competitive too, in a way. So I was like, huh, I think this is the country to be your own boss in. So I started really small. I did consulting with a bigger firms. I had that, and then I was trying to get my own little project on the side. So I was kind of doing it a little bit hybrid in the beginning, and then I um, I got a business partner, and she was a good friend, and so then we were two, and our contact suddenly became twice as big, and so we had a lot of fun, kind of starting up, and it, because my network was so little when I got here, I really had to work on knowing other people in the business, and so so I got involved in the ASLA, which is the Landscape Architect Organization. Um, and in the beginning, we ended up doing a lot of kind of uh, inst kind of instant thing like the Sunset Idea House. We worked with Dwell magazine for years doing. They had this conference and a big trade show, so we designed our whole landscape park of the trade show. So it was great exposure.
I
Bad
was gonna say
pay,
that's huge.
great
Yeah.
exposure.
Yeah.
So that has really been, that was a great way of doing it, actually. And we somehow kind of fell into that.
Yeah,
So
I
we
was gonna say, how do you said it like, oh, it was, yeah, we did this and this, but like, how do you get a spot? Like, how do you get the opportunity to do something like that?
uh a lot of randomness. And then be kind of, oh yes, we'll do that. And we were kind of in a little bit blessed naiveness, what thing took, and then we had to figure it out. So
That's really cool. And that's actually another thing that I kind of hear along the way is like, you do a lot of the learning and the work and you have your mission and vision, which I kind of want to get into and talk a little bit about
yeah,
sustainability next. But a lot of people have this direction that they're going, but some circumstance or something comes along and you just kind of like, oh yeah, I just was in the right place at the right time. Like a little bit
yeah,
of luck too can sometimes push
yeah,
you if you're doing what you are trying to do and you're pursuing that and you kind of leave yourself open to other things kind of coming that help you along the way. So
absolutely.
that's really
Yeah.
cool. That's a cool part of the story. So, but let's talk about building a business with purpose. So,
Mhm.
sustainability is at the heart of what you do. How do you ensure Shades of Green remain true to sustainable practices while still trying to grow the business as well?
Yeah. Yeah. So the interesting thing when we started like 20 years ago, basically, um, water saving and drought tolerance and kind of using more native plants and stuff, get rid of as much lawn as we possibly could, was not that, it wasn't integrated in any rules and regulations. Now it's all, you know, uh, in all the regulations, you have to be very low water, you have to, and also wa water saving, fire safe is kind of the main big thing, and that you have to do per codes now. So that all it 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 used to be something we really had to kind of push our clients to do. So we had to push our clients to do that as much as we could. And then over time, we would get clients that would be interested in doing that. So we were, able to, get on kind of some of the early lead certified homes and things like that.
Oh, that's cool. Well,
Yeah.
let's talk about some of those challenges and wins because I can imagine sometimes people are driven by different things, right? Like some are driven by cost and some really do
Yeah.
want to prioritize sustainability. But what every business has highs and lows, and then you're also facing, client needs. So what were some of your biggest challenges that you faced in building your firm, but also what have been maybe some of your proudest moments?
Ooh. Um, well, gosh, yeah, I mean, and I, in general, some of those projects can be really challenging. They take a lot of time, and you kind of have to, you can have challenging clients in good ways too, right? That they really push you, um, and yeah, kind of trying to find materials that is right, and yeah, ways of doing it. Yeah.
Well, your designs are known for Scandinavian simplicity and natural integration. So, how do you balance artistic vision with practical business decisions?
Um, well, so for the project, I think uh, I mean that the goal is that our project's going to be beautiful, they're going to be sustainable, and they also going to be practical, usable. And they also are not just for people, they are for insects and all the other creatures that are here. So we have to think about that too. Um, so that's kind of the goal. Um, and then, with the business and sorry, kind of the business and stuff, a lot of time, we write proposals and we have, amounts for um, the different phases and stuff. And it's super easy to go way over. So
Right.
kind of how can you be as efficient as possible, but also get the result you want? And I mean, it is more important for me to have a happy client and a good project than you know, break even, or not break even, but make the most amount of money on each project. I mean,
Sure.
ideally, we we want the budget to be enough to do the design work that is needed. That's not always.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, I get that. I get that. I think, when you're running your own business, you have to work with clients, teams, other designers, and that kind of
Yeah,
stuff. So I'd imagine collaboration is a big part of that.
absolutely.
How do you keep that with the budget in mind? Keep your projects aligned with your specific vision for your company.
Yeah, so on some of the teams we have architects, landscape architects, interior designer, the client. So there's a lot of so you kind of have to work with the whole team and kind of trying to find kind of have an integrated project that take care of that, yeah. So there's some give and takes, and but yeah.
Absolutely. A lot of moving pieces and a lot of personalities. Usually
Yeah.
people that have strong opinions about things. So you tend to find, your group, your core group of people that you like to work
Yeah.
with. So
Yeah.
yeah, that's
Sometimes you
good.
have to choose your battles.
I love it though. Like there it is. It's very much giving and take. And I think when people kind of get into starting their own business, they think, "Oh, I'm going to have the freedom to do what I want to do when I want to do." But you still have to work with other people. Even
Yeah,
if you're running your own firm and you're doing something very specific, there are other pieces to this puzzle that, need to align, and there's a lot of give and take. I like that.
yeah. And you can't have a too big of an ego because you are providing a service. You are making this for somebody else. So you have to keep that in mind too.
That's a really good point too, is are you getting into this to serve a particular customer or a client? And is that in alignment with the vision that you have for your company? Because at the end of the day, like you said, I like what you said about sometimes keeping the client happy is a little bit more important than maximizing your profits, which was that's what I love talking to small business owners about, because I think whenever I talk to individuals that own their own business or own their own company, they are in the seat to make that decision. But sometimes I think, particularly in America today, the way that businesses and the purpose of business is to maximize profitability.
Yeah.
And whenever I have these conversations on the podcast, that's not a lot of our purposes. Yes, we do need to make money. Don't get me wrong. We have to keep the doors open. We do get into this to make a living. And like you said, America is
Yeah.
the place that you should be your own boss. Like I love that. I'm gonna probably use that in future. But at the same time, it's not the most important thing. And we really get into this for usually a bigger reason and a bigger goal, and a lot of those have value in it too, that's not just monetary value.
Yeah, absolutely.
So what advice would you give to landscape architects or creatives looking to start their own business?
Well, uh, network, you can meet a client in a line at the grocery store for that matter. You never know when you can meet a potential client. So networking is super important. Networking with the design community. So for example, I mean, the design community in San Francisco Bay Area, it's pretty small. And after you've been in it for like 20 years, you always meet people that you haven't seen in a while, and then you meet new people. So it's kind of a nice community. It's not too big, but it's big enough. Um, and then it's like in the beginning, you take what you get and you do a good job at it. And then, you have to build up a portfolio. Um, and when that's what you do, the images and pictures are super important. Um, and then I would say, I mean, there's not that many things I regret that I did. It's more things I regret I didn't do, like didn't follow up or didn't, just let go. So
Yeah,
it's more
that's
like
really
that.
good.
Yeah.
Not really regretting things I did, but regretting things I didn't do. I think I'd have to
Yeah.
agree with you.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's kind of resonates a lot. So switching over to, I mean, that's really good advice, I think, if you're especially in the design areas, photos,
Yeah.
marketing,
Yeah.
networking, all of
Yeah.
that is key. But what do you think, what our signature question, what it takes is our podcast, obviously. What does it take to be a successful business owner? So not just like in the world of architecture, but what are things that you're learning just specifically in your role as a business owner? Like, what does it take?
Yeah. So uh, uh, one thing it I think one thing it takes is to figure out hire people that are very good at things you're not good at. You have to kind of put together a team that has all these different skills and talents that you need. Because and it's very important to know what you are not good at and shouldn't do. And then
Amen,
being a
sister.
being a nice boss is important because we are a small studio. We are spending our days together, and making sure everybody has a good work environment so they can thrive and do a good job and develop, and also, yeah, and then, yeah, you have to keep an eye on the finances, obviously, which is, most designers are it's not their main focus. It's not what they're trained at. So it's a thing you have to learn.
Absolutely. And I see that too, especially in design. You're very much creatively, kind of shaped, I think.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so, yeah, I think sometimes finances and numbers are not necessarily seen in the same category as a creative type position. So
Yeah.
those are three really, really great takeaways: is surround yourself with people who have skills that, can kind of fill in the gaps where you are not strong. And then once you do surround yourself with those people, then to make sure that they have a really great environment to thrive in, and to be, these are people that you see more than your family a lot of times, and spend
Yeah.
all of your day in and day out, and you're working to kind of produce something that's meaningful. And then three, keep your eye on on the dollar. Definitely, you can't keep a business open if you're spending more than you're making. That's a
No.
really, it sounds so simple, but it's really, really good advice.
Yeah.
But thank you so much. This has been such an inspiring conversation, from your early days designing landscapes in Norway and then leading to this award-winning firm in California now. Your journey is a testament to vision, hard work, and staying committed to sustainability. So before we wrap up,
Mhm.
um, thank you for sharing your thoughts and your insights with us. But for our listeners, if you want to see more of this incredible work that they're doing at Shades of Green, where can they find you?
So we are on Instagram and Facebook on Shades of Green LA. And then we have a website, shadesofgreenla.com. And yeah, otherwise we are here in Sausalito. So we get some walk-ins sometimes, which is fun. So
All right,
yeah,
perfect. Yeah, so if you're local, just walk on by.
yeah, pop in.
So if you've enjoyed this episode, don't forget to subscribe, leave a review, and share it with somebody who would love to hear this story. Thank you so much for tuning into What It Takes, and we will see you next time. Would you or someone you know like to be featured on this podcast? Our applications are now open. Apply today at seekersolution.com and click on the podcast link to get started.